Hey everyone, welcome to the International Commission Podcast. This is Bucky and Brooke here with you all, bringing you biblical topics to chew on, fun travel advice, and amazing stories from our friends all around the world. We're glad you're here.
Yes, we are. We're so excited about this.
The purpose of this kind of episode is to draw back the curtain, have more behind-the-scenes casual conversation with you to show you the human side of International Commission. After all, we're just normal people serving in missions, going to work with local believers around the world to share the gospel. And all of our participants that go on trips with us are normal people too. So normal things happen, funny things happen, and we want to share all of those sorts of things with you. So what are we going to be talking about today, Brooke?
First, welcome everybody. We've been really excited about this, but for our first ever podcast, the 3 segments we're going to be doing is a Did You Know? Best travel advice, specifically for long haul flights, and a special testimony from our partners around the world. So, ready to start?
Yes, let's do it.
Did you know?
Okay, so for the first segment, I gathered some facts on the internet about a specific country, and Bucky is going to verify if these are in fact true. And so Today's country is Germany. And why Germany? Because Bucky grew up there and he can actually give us a rundown on if these stereotypes are for real or not. So first, tell us a little bit about your life in Germany, Bucky.
All right, richtig, natürlich, I'll do that. Ich war in Heidelberg geboren. Sorry, maybe in English. Maybe I should do it in English. I was born in Germany, Heidelberg, Germany, and lived there for several years. My dad was in the U.S. Army, so I was born there. We went to the U.K., to the States, and back to Germany for several years. And I lived there until I was in 6th grade. So we lived on Army posts most of the time. But even when we did, we loved to go out and explore the culture, learn the people, traditions, food, and then travel around Europe as well.
So you were around Germans pretty often, just like
yeah, we had a lot of German friends. I went to an international church while we were there, so we did engage with Germans and their economy all the time.
Cool. So you're gonna know all the stereotypes. You're gonna get to tell us if these are true or not. And so I'm kind of excited about this. Okay, so for fact number 1, just about Germans, and these are generalizations. Not every German will be like this, of course, but this is what I found, and this is from expatica.com. Don't know if it's accurate or not, but we'll see. So number 1, Germans will know you are a foreigner. They just do.
Yeah.
Really?
True. I don't know what else I need to say about that. It's true. What I will tell you, I guess, is what I've been told are the clues that they can tell, specifically if you're American, because that's what they told us. They can tell you're American by the kind of shoes that you wear, by how loud we are in public, by customs that we don't know, languages that we don't know. I guess really a better way to explain it is, ironically, the way that they pick us out is by American stereotypes.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if you go to Germany,
we want ice in our water, and that's just not a thing in Europe.
Yeah, that's not a thing in most areas of the world. I remember I was in China and we would always ask for bing shui, which was cold water, and it was always room temperature water. It was never ice water. So I've actually become more accustomed to the room temperature water, but it's ice is a weird thing.
Well, usually if you get water to drink as your beverage at a restaurant, it's bottled water anyways.
Yeah. Okay, so if anyone's planning on going to Germany, just know, if you're from America, you will be found out.
They're going to know. Don't pretend. They're going to be able to tell anyway.
Don't even act. Yeah. Okay, so the second one. Germans are rule-oriented in every aspect. Make sure you wait at traffic lights and prepare yourself for a lack of flexibility in rules and regulations. In Germany, rules are a way of life. Is that true or not?
Richtig. And I like it.
Yeah.
I like adventure. I like fun, but I do appreciate the German sense of efficiency, their value of order and efficiency. Trains run exactly on time. Trains and buses run exactly on time. Things start when they're supposed to. Of course, that's very much a Western value.
Right.
Punctuality is. But if you do like that, Germany's great because you know what to expect when you schedule things. The crossing the street thing's totally true because if you do not cross the street at a crosswalk, people will yell at you. I remember a time when I was in a little town outside of Cologne called Brühl, Germany. This was on a mission trip working with International Mission Board missionaries there. We were out in the little town, and if you tried to jaywalk, old ladies would yell at you from their apartment windows.
Beware of the old ladies that you might have found in Germany.
So you don't want to get on their bad side by perpetuating an American stereotype, especially.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the most part, Americans, we live by a lot of rules and regulations. Like, we value efficiency, we value productivity. I think, if you come from a different area of the world, maybe Africa or South America, going to Germany, that might be a little bit of a harder transition because South American time is
it's more people oriented than schedule oriented.
Yeah, which there's value in both for sure.
Yeah,
so much value.
But that's their expectation in Germany, is that you're coming here, you're a visitor. We're, globally speaking, a small country, and so we do things our way, and you're just kind of expected to know what the expectations are and to assimilate. People do have grace for foreigners. Some, maybe the old ladies don't, but in general, people are going to be kind to you and nice, but they will correct you. They will tell you what the rules were, and they're well-meaning, but they're going to make sure that you know what you're supposed to do.
That was actually another one, so I'll skip ahead. And so this is one you can probably talk on a little bit more. Germans might overstep their boundaries in regards to commenting and just speaking their minds pretty freely. So where are they on that? Is that true or not?
Okay, especially in context of what we were just talking about, that's true, because they're not going to pull punches if they need to help remind you of the rules. But that works to your advantage in an evangelistic setting, because no topic is off the table, really. You can talk about politics, religion. Really, people expect that you're going to talk about the things that you care about. And so while there's another stereotype that Germans are kind of closed off, and it takes a long time really to build a friendship in Germany. On the other hand, you can get to some of the deeper topics that are taboos for us more quickly, because people just like to talk about things, and they like to talk about things that are important in the world. So if you are a Christian, they do expect that you will talk about that.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good to know. Yeah, especially for evangelism, don't necessarily be afraid to talk about the hard topics. So that's a good one. But also, I looked at this one and I said, I'm going to have to not be such a sensitive person if I go to Germany, because somebody might hurt my feelings if they tell me I'm doing something wrong. But I think, they probably don't mean to just straight up hurt my feelings. So.
No, they're trying to keep the order.
Right.
It's really a social value for them.
Right.
So in a roundabout way, they're really trying to be kind and helpful.
Yeah.
Because they think that if everyone's following the rules, then it's better for everybody else, including you.
Right. And I think we just have to have that open mindset when going to different areas of the world, that cultural values, social norms are going to be slightly different than what we have. So.
Yep.
So the next one is not in regards to German humans, but canines, German canines.
Yay.
So this one is interesting, and I wanted to see if it was true or not. Dogs are nicely treated and allowed in most of the hotels and restaurants.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that about Germany. You can take your dog anywhere. But again, there's an expectation that your dog will be under voice command. Some places there are actually even really strict laws in some towns about dogs having to be under voice command. So most German dogs are very, very well trained. Sometimes you'll go into a store, maybe a smaller store, and you'll see dogs just sitting there politely, patiently outside the door, waiting for their owners to come back. And you can talk to them and pet them, but they'll just sit there. And as soon as their owner comes out, they'll stand up and heel and walk with them. Impressive.
I love that.
But
so cute.
in restaurants, you'll see dogs laying under the table sometimes. In restaurants, hotels, pretty much anywhere humans can go, dogs are allowed.
I love that. I think that America should adopt that.
I agree.
For the most part,
if you go to, there are some towns like Black Mountain, North Carolina. There's a lot of dogs there. You'll see them in the coffee shops and restaurants and stuff.
I love that.
Yeah.
Go dogs in Germany. We're happy for you. Okay, last one. This it was funny because there was kind of it was specifically for Americans to note this, and it said, especially for Americans out there, there is no personal space. People stand very close to each other. What do you think about that?
That's probably true. That I would say that's more true on a train or a train station or something like that. People don't mind standing really close if they need to. I wouldn't say they really prefer it, but
okay. It's interesting because this was actually the one that I could comment on because in high school, we had a German foreign exchange student. We became really close. Her name was Benita, in case you're listening. And she came back to visit a few years later. And I hadn't seen her in a while, which, I'm a hugger. I'm pretty close. But we were sitting on a bench together, and she had her arm around me and just sitting right up next to me. And that was very normal and just for her. And so it's interesting just from that German friend, it seemed like this would be true. But yeah, maybe not for everybody. But
I think you could say, especially with people that they're close to.
Yeah.
Once you do kind of get in and you have a friendship, Germans are very affectionate, both physically and with gifts and time. They're very generous. Germans also just in general are very comfortable with their bodies.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that.
All right. So if someone is going to Germany, we have no more facts, but if someone is going to Germany and they need to eat something that they've never had before, what is the food that you tell them you have to eat this?
I love any kind of schnitzel.
Okay.
Pounded meats that are usually breaded and fried. Gosh, all German food.
Yeah.
I love it all. Got to have some Wurst, different kinds of Wurst. Everyone knows bratwurst, but there's also Knockwurst and Nürnberg Wurst. Nürnberg Wurst are smaller sausages, usually served with a curry mustard kind of paste, and that's really, really good. Bachfisch, some festivals will have a stand, a kiosk where they're frying or baking fish, and it's always really, really good.
Nice. All right, everybody, that's all you need to know about Germany. There's nothing else.
Is it? Well, for now, anyway.
For now, that's what we're giving you for now.
Well, now let's move on to the best travel advice we can give for long-haul flights, all right?
Take some advice.
What kind of experience do you have with long-haul flights, Brooke?
I don't have a lot. I have some. There's some people who've gone with International Commission who've gone to 30, 40 plus countries, and they've spent 30, 40 plus hours in travel time in a few days. But my longest flight was to Thailand, and that was kind of a rough time. So I flew to Houston, which was about an hour, and then flew from there to Tokyo, Japan, which was about 14 hours. And I did not want to get on another flight, but then we had another flight that was about 7 hours to Bangkok. And I was in the middle of two people.
No.
And it was a very hot flight. And I wasn't feeling too good at that point. The only food that they had was very odd Asian foods that I was not keen on trying with a stomach ache. And so, there are ways to kind of overcome some long haul flights, but what about you? What are some long haul flight experiences?
I've had some pretty long ones too. My longest ones have also been to Asia.
Yeah.
And those just typically the Pacific flights usually are really long, 15 plus hours. I have had Atlantic flights. Really, usually they'll go over the pole, but over the North Pole, but still upward of 15 hours. Those are really difficult. I feel like I kind of start to lose my mind about 9 or 10 hours in,
Yes.
and then I just can't sit there any longer.
No.
I want to be anywhere but on this plane. So that's when I just really get fidgety and I need to get up and move. So if possible, get up and stretch my legs, walk up and down the aisle while trying my hardest not to touch or disturb anybody else. Certainly not, if y'all hear nothing else on this podcast, certainly not grabbing headrests as you walk by, because that's the worst thing you can do as an airline passenger. Going back to the galley and stretching, talking to flight attendants or other passengers back there or whatever, just taking a break, standing up, getting around, moving around. But you can't do that the whole time. You got to stay in your seat. And of course, there's always the dilemma of, do I want an aisle seat or a window seat? If I have a window seat, I can lean up against the wall and sleep really well. But then I have to be the guy to get up the other people when I do need to get up for the lavatory or just to walk around to stay sane. So there's always kind of a balance there.
Yeah, I am the person, I always want the window seat only if I know the people with me and I'm okay with waking them. If I don't know them, I want the aisle seat because I usually have to go to the bathroom at the most inconvenient times. And if I don't know the people, I have to go more because I feel the pressure to
usually when they're asleep.
Yes, when they're asleep. And I'm like, I can't jump over you without hurting everyone in the process. And I don't want to wake you up because I know that you are just trying to get through this flight like I am. And so, but I do like the window seat because you can lean up against it. But yeah, the first piece of advice that I have is sleep. On a long haul flight, just sleep as much as you can and bring a neck pillow. I have a pillow blanket combo that fits over my carry-on. The only problem with it is only a pillow or it is only a blanket. It is not both at the same time. And so, you have to kind of figure out what is most important here, having a pillow or having a blanket.
I just kind of, I don't think I ever really use a blanket on the plane. I just dress in layers and adjust.
It just feels cozier,
Yeah.
So, but that's the first piece of advice.
Yeah, I can see that.
Sleep, and for IC trips, just know if you're coming with us, we take a lot of overnighters. And those are rough sometimes, and that really throws off my rhythms and everything. But the best thing you can do is sleep as best you can on those flights.
And if you can't sleep, and when you have to be there in your seat, passing time, what are the next best things that you can do? So I think, like you said, it's better to fly with friends if you can. Now, of course, you can't always do that. But if you're on a mission trip, if you're on one of IC's partnership trips, you'll have some other teammates with you. And usually we do seat people together. And if you don't know your teammates, this is a good way to get to know them. But regardless, some of the most fun things you can do to pass the time are bring some playing cards or little games. I've recently really gotten into the tiny games. There's a line of toys called World's Smallest, and they have a bunch of different games. There's like a Connect 4 and a Monopoly and all sorts of stuff. And it's the same game, but it's really, really tiny. So those are fun.
Gosh. Wow.
But there's also the Hacko game cards, the box of cards, and the shape of the cards is the size of a stick of gum. It's just, there's a bunch of different types of games, all with those little cards.
That would be helpful because the lab desk that you have is really not ideal for having a big game,
No, but see, if you're with friends, you can put down all the tables on the row and just kind of spread your game across. So
yeah,
we actually Brooke and I got to do this on a really, really long flight to the Middle East where we played, what did we play? Uno or Skip? No, we played Monopoly Deal.
Monopoly Deal.
Yeah. And she crushed me time after time.
So many times. And that made it worse because it was funny how many times I was beating you. And also, again, I think this was maybe an overnight flight. Was it? Because I don't know. All the lights were
off. It was a long one. Yeah, it was.
All of the lights were off, and Bucky and I were bored. We didn't want. My husband was asleep beside us, and I didn't want to watch a movie. We couldn't get up and walk all the time, and so I said, "Hey, let's play Monopoly Deal." And we were trying to be really quiet. And we were those people. I don't like being that person, but we were those people that turned on our light, and it illuminates so much around you. It feels so bright. But we were so bored, and we had at least 5 more hours to go on this flight.
I was past that point already of sanity.
Yeah, and so we played Monopoly Deal, and I obliterated him. And so I encourage you all, if you don't know Monopoly Deal, that's a good one to bring onto the flight. Make some friends beside you.
It's a good one to bring up every so often, just to remind your coworkers that you slaughtered them. Yeah. All right. So one other thing we did on that flight, and I highly recommend this, is to choose an in-flight entertainment movie and watch it all simultaneously
at the exact same time.
So you get several of your friends together. You know, if you're sitting in rows, like near each other, in front and behind your seat, and count down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play, hit play. So you all have your headphones on, so it's like a silent disco kind of thing, but you're all watching the same movie. So you get to watch each other react, do the same things going on, and it's incredible, especially when it's a really dumb movie.
Really dumb, horrible
Such
movie.
as
Moonfall. If you've ever seen this movie, you would know how trash it is. It is really, really horrible. So horrible, I actually fell asleep. I couldn't stand it anymore. But Bucky and my husband watched it through and
Lindsay
through.
Lindsay watched it too, I think.
Okay,
Shout out to Lindsay Keener.
Hi, Lindsay. And yeah, it was so bad. You described the premise because you watched all of it.
Here's the premise. The moon is a mega structure.
What is a mega structure?
The moon is fake, and it is here for all the nerds out there, it is a Dyson sphere built around a white dwarf star, and the surface of the moon we see is a facade. It's all fake, and aliens live there or something like that.
And didn't they live inside of?
Yeah, they live inside it, and they allude to this throughout the movie. They really don't give it away at the. Oh well, sorry, spoilers.
I know. Yeah, spoiler alert.
Well,
we should announce that.
Just don't watch it.
Yeah, don't watch it.
Anyway, now you don't have to either. But from what I recall, the moon is falling toward the Earth, and so the first half of the movie seems like a disaster film, like any you've ever seen. Oh, the Earth is going to be destroyed, and here's all the effects going on Earth, and the scientists are trying to figure out what to do and all of that. Basement bloggers start to reveal the truth. Well, they finally get their moment in the spotlight to share what they've known all along with the rest of the world, who previously didn't believe them, that yes, in fact, the moon is fake, and the chief nerd who figured it out ends up being the one to go to the moon and try to save the world or something like that.
Oh, help.
But
yeah, I
just believe us, it gets progressively worse as it goes on.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I fell asleep. Kind of sad. I missed the funny parts of it, but also it was just so horrible. It was so bad.
It wasn't meant to be funny, but what was fun about watching it with friends on an airplane while everyone else was sleeping was that we were trying not to bust out laughing or just looking at each other really confused.
It makes it so much worse whenever you're trying to be quiet too.
Yeah. Well, it makes it more fun though. It's even funnier when you're not supposed to be busting out laughing.
Yeah. So
highly recommend watching a movie that will make you laugh.
Especially
with your
a ridiculous
friends.
Movie.
Yeah.
Yes. Some other tips: download games on your phone, like solitaire. I did that few times, or, just whatever games you might have. Read if you can. I always bring a book or two with high hopes of reading through a long flight. I say, I'm going to read this whole book, be so proud of myself, and it hasn't happened yet. I read maybe a chapter or two, but I get so wired on flights. So I'm really tired, but too tired to read, but too not tired enough to go to sleep. And so that's why I just keep myself awake with the lights of the screen of watching a movie. But if you are a reader, always bring some books with you.
I'm a big reader. I do the same thing. I have a goal of reading a couple of books on a trip. Sometimes I do, but I also get the same way where I see the opportunity of having a bunch of hours that I need to fill with entertainment. And then I see all the other opportunities I have to play games or watch movies. And I think, hey, I have 5 kids. I rarely get the opportunity to just sit here with no responsibilities and be entertained. So I end up watching movies. So,
yeah, uninterrupted entertainment. Some other things I thought of is downloading a movie or a few episodes of a show on your phone, because whenever you are stuck in an airport for a few hours in a layover, or if you're on one of those flights that's short enough to not have in-flight entertainment, but long enough to get you really bored, you'll want to have something to do. And maybe you don't have a book, or maybe you just don't want to read and you just want to watch something. And so those are nice to have an episode or two to watch.
Definitely. Most of your streaming services will let you download.
Yeah.
When if you have the app on your phone. That is when I read, mostly on flights, really, is when I don't have the opportunity to watch something. Or I'm sitting in the airport. I do read a lot in the airport. So I highly recommend bringing ebooks. I know not everybody likes reading books on a screen, but it is very convenient for travel because you could store a whole library on there. So, and it's easy when you're waiting in line or whatever. It's easier to look at your phone or a Kindle than to pull out a book.
Ginormous book. Yeah, you can also listen to podcasts.
Like this one.
Yeah, some other ones I had. Bring snacks, because airports are expensive and you might be hungry in the middle of a flight and you can't eat anything. I mean, you can sometimes ask a flight attendant if you've been nice to them, and they might
always be nice to them.
Yes, always be nice. Okay, this is just a side question. Do you have any traditions while flying? Not necessarily on the flight itself, but like before you go, or on the flight itself, just flying. I'm going to do this because I do. I'll say mine real quick.
Okay.
So I always, and this was before I stopped eating gluten, but I always went to Annie Ann's and got some pretzels, because they always have Annie Ann's in the airports in America anyways. And whenever I'm on the flight and they offer a free drink, I always got apple juice. I don't know why. Those were always the traditions that I did. I looked forward to Annie Ann's. Never had it any other time except at the airport.
Not even at the mall?
No, not even at the mall.
The airport is like a lawless mall.
It is. Yeah.
So I do drink tomato juice on flights, and really only ever on flights, because for some reason you actually taste it differently at altitude.
Have you verified this? Is this in fact true?
It's true. I don't know. I haven't really done a double blind test at altitude and on the ground or anything like that, but I don't have a custom of drinking tomato juice on the ground. Like, not even V8. I don't know. That's
so interesting.
That's not my go-to, but somehow I started that. So that's always what I pick. Now, there are other reasons for it. And one reason is I entirely quit drinking carbonated beverages on flight.
Oh, really?
Because carbonation expands and causes problems. And
say no more.
Now, and you can consider how altitude affects that. But and then the water, like coffee and tea on planes, I always want some tea on a plane, but sometimes it's not the cleanest. So I just thought that the safest thing would be juice. And so somehow I just settled on drinking tomato juice.
Yes, because it tastes better.
Because it tastes better in the air, and I only do it on the plane, so it's just kind of become a tradition.
Wow, man, I feel like tomato juice companies could really,
they should advertise this
information. They could advertise this.
I really don't. I always thought it was really weird that they serve tomato juice on the plane because it seems like it doesn't seem like it would be in that high demand.
Yeah, also, that wouldn't be a tummy settler for most people.
Yeah,
yeah. So, interesting.
But I wonder if it's because of that it became an airplane thing.
It became known that it tastes better in the air.
We'll have to do an episode just on the history of tomato juice on flights.
All right. Do you have any other advice for people?
I have lots, but that's it for now. We got to save some for other episodes.
Yep. All right. So we can move on to our last segment to close out this episode.
It's story time.
All right. Well, we have a testimony to share from some friends of mine in Mongolia. I had the privilege to go on one of our international partnership trips to Mongolia several years ago, and I was really inspired by the believers there that we worked with. They conduct end-to-end projects all year long, every year. An end-to-end project, if you aren't familiar, is a national-to-national partnership where just the nationals conduct an Operation Andrew partnership and do it all on their own. And in Mongolia, without an American team coming to join them. And they typically will travel outside of the capital city of Ulaanbaatar to remote places in Mongolia, because Mongolia is largely unreached. And sometimes this is pioneering missions ministry where they're going to otherwise unreached people groups and towns who have never heard the gospel, but they can speak the same language and culture. And so who better to reach them than Mongolians? Right. Also, they are uniquely suited to do this because we cannot take American teams to travel 3,200 kilometers in a car where it's minus 45 to 50 Celsius.
My.
We're just not going to survive that probably. So that's one of the things.
Count me out of that.
That's one of the things that inspires me about that, is that they do this, but also that they're so driven to share the gospel. Yeah. So let me read a little bit of this report that we just got from one of our teams in Mongolia from February 2024. We appreciate your support for this national-to-national partnership. The first partnership started with different adventures and challenged us. The Ubs province is located 1,380 kilometers away from Ulaanbaatar. Our team traveled there and back to Ulaanbaatar, and the ride was a rough total of 3,200 kilometers. Besides, Ubs is the coldest area in the whole country during the wintertime, and it was minus 45 to 50 Celsius when the team shared the gospel there. The team had 86 people and 18 cars. 19 churches were involved, and doctors and singers joined in this partnership. The spirituality of the people was dark and heavy. Shamanism was influenced to people deeply. The isolation is one of the main causes of difficulties. Local law enforcement investigated our brother, I'll leave his name out, and asked the purpose of coming to the province of Ubs with such a large group. So he explained the purpose of the partnership and shared his testimony. Law enforcement allowed him to leave without any other questions. Praise God for his divine protection over his people. At the closing rally, many older people came, and it was an unusual phenomenon. We believe God brought many to himself through our partnership. So that was 18 churches. 16 were from Ulaanbaatar, the capital, and 2 others from other organizations. There were 6 local churches. There were 116 Mongolians participating.
Wow.
1,845 adults and 633 children heard the gospel.
Wow.
They visited 1,152 homes, and they saw 465 professions of faith in Christ.
Wow,
Isn't that amazing? Amazing.
So cool.
So their dedication,
many people heard the gospel.
They are so driven and dedicated. They go absolutely all in. And they regularly send reports with incredible stories like this of miraculous things that happen. And I just think you see those kind of things happen on the cutting edge of evangelism, where the gospel is breaking through, where God is making ways where otherwise there seems to be no way for the gospel to be declared and heard. So that's amazing. Part of this brother's story is that he spent a lot of time in prison. Mm-hmm. And so he is uniquely gifted and experienced to relate to people that are, experiencing really hard times or even prisons. He goes and visits a lot of prisons in Mongolia and is able to share the gospel with them, and they, love him and pay attention to him. But God has just put a special hand of protection and access on him and their team. And so they just keep going. They're doing this kind of thing at least 5 times a year. They go long distance to take the gospel where it's not known.
Yeah, that's really cool. And we can be encouraged that even in those really remote regions where it's so cold and, you don't even think about the fact that souls, people made in the image of God live, but God has placed them on other people's hearts to go to them. And the gospel is being proclaimed in those really remote areas. And there's still a lot of other remote areas that still need to hear the gospel. And that's for us to go and do.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, this has been super fun. There's plenty more to talk about, but you'll have to wait for other episodes. That is all for today. Thanks for listening. If you want to learn more about our ministry at International Commission, head over to our website, internationalcommission.org. There you can see job postings, how you can pray, give, and go with us. Let's equip and enable each other until everyone has a chance to hear the good news of Jesus. Until next time.